You're listening to Closing Market Weekly, the show where real estate closings meet real world insight. With your host, Phillip Hogan, and every week we break down the trends, tools, and the timing that keeps deals moving forward. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Phillip Hogan, host of Closing Market Weekly. Welcome to another episode. Many of you may know me as the CEO of Signing Services of America. Since 2016, I've worked with hundreds of professionals across the mortgage and real estate settlement space, from title agents and escrow officers to lenders, attorneys, and notaries. One thing I've noticed in this industry, we often talk to each other, but not with each other. That's why Closing Market Weekly was created, to offer a space for honest, practical conversations about the real issues, challenges, and trends shaping the closing market. Today's guest is someone I've had the pleasure of working with closely over the years. Quin Gilchrist, who is the president of Gilchrist Law. We've partnered on countless signings and client projects, and I'm excited to finally bring one of our behind the scene conversations to the podcast. Quin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for inviting me again, Phil. It is a pleasure to see you and be a part of this great venture.
Thank you. And so let me share with the audience your background, and maybe they'll know why I've invited you to the show. So, Quin Gilchrist is a consultant, real estate closing agent, and litigation attorney based in Florida. Mr. Gilchrist earned his Juris Doctorate degree, cum laude, from the University of Florida Levine College of Law in Gainesville, Florida, and his Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from Davidson College in Davidson, North Carolina. Prior to founding the Gilchrist Law Firm, PA, Mr. Gilchrist spent over 4 years serving in the United States JAG Corps as a estate planning attorney, tax attorney, prosecutor, and labor law attorney. After honorably serving on active duty, Mr. Gilchrist served in private practice at several distinguished law firms where he represented clients throughout the world at real estate closings and litigation matters. Since founding the Gilchrist Law Firm, PA, Mr. Gilchrist has leveraged his professional experiences and networking capabilities to assemble a team of highly accomplished professionals. With his team, Mr. Gilchrist has successfully led the firm on to provide services to multiple U.S. government agencies, as well as legal services for private sector clients throughout the world for many years. In addition to managing a successful law firm, Mr. Gilchrist concurrently served as a JAG Corps attorney in the Florida Army National Guard and most recently the United States Reserves as a JAG Corps officer, where he further endeavored to exemplify selfless service. Wow, what a background. Woo!
Thanks, Phil.
It's impressive, man. And again, welcome to the show. And I can't wait to dive in because we've worked with each other for gosh, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
And in the years, I never knew that you have accomplished all of these things. You know what I mean? And congratulations for your service and thank you for your service and congratulations on your accomplishments. So
Thank
let's
you.
go ahead and dive in. And would you share with us how you first got started in the mortgage industry?
So thanks for that, Phil. So I started in the real estate mortgage industry as a result of my service in the military. So
Mm,
I served as a JAG attorney, which is a attorney for I always tell people, the United States first law firm, which is the U.S. Army JAG Corps. I did it on active duty, then I did in the National Guard, then I did in the reserves. While I was there, I learned surveying, I learned maps, I learned appraisals, I learned what we call dirt law, which is real estate law. After active duty, I then started working at all these big law firms, and I really started to use the skills I learned in the military
hmm
in practice.
hmm
The ability that I could read a survey. Most real estate attorneys just don't know how to do it.
hmm
The fact I knew how to do and read an appraisal and know the different standards, most folks didn't know how to do that either. And so when I started working in the title industry, I said, okay, I want to be a title agent. And so I worked at the largest title insurance company in the world, which is Fidelity, and then the second one is Old Republic. Then the third one is WFG National Title Insurance Company. I became a claims attorney for all three of them, and I got to really, really put my knowledge in practice while navigating claims on title insurance companies. After that, I leveraged my military service and I started getting into federal contracting law, which is how I met you, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
And I started working as a contractor for various agencies, including the one that I brought you into is the USDA, which became my first and largest customer.
So Quinn, hold on. Let's stop and let's back up a second here.
Sure.
And so you're saying that you began working with various government agencies.
Mhm.
Would you mind? And your background there has got a number of emblems, and I imagine those emblems are representing
Yeah.
the different, the different systems, the different departments within the U.S. government that you work with.
Yes, sir.
Great.
So
So
there
let's go ahead.
are.
So let's go ahead and list those
Mhm.
for so because many of our guests, I'm sorry, many of our audience members are not on screen, so they need to hear what it is that you're affiliated with.
Oh, yes, sir. So there are 13 federal departments in the United States. 13. I
Mm,
work for nine of them.
mm,
So, Department of Defense, the largest purchaser of real estate in America is the Department of Defense. I mean,
mhm,
just because the Corps of Engineers is underneath the Department of Defense, and I do a ton of work for them.
mhm,
USDA, that was my first agency customer. That's you do work with them too.
mhm,
USDA is another one. Department of Interior is another customer I do a lot of work with. So all of our national parks are under the Department of Interior. So I do quite a bit of work with them.
mhm,
The VA, Department of Veteran Affairs, I do work with them. The HHS, Department of Health and Human Services, I actually did one real estate transaction actually in North Carolina for them. They were buying a large plot of land to build like a school. So I was doing some work for them there.
mhm,
Um, and some of the other agencies, Department of Justice, have done some work for them. I mean, a bunch of agencies. But the bottom line, what I always tell people is in the real estate industry, you know, we always think about residential properties and commercial properties,
mhm, mhm,
which is true.
mhm,
But a subset of commercial is government property, so federal acquisitions.
mhm,
So every military base you see, every federal government building that you see, those are federal acquisitions. That's real estate too. The
mhm,
government owns property, leases property, sells property.
mhm,
And so, as I was mentioning, after my military service and after working at all these big firms, I figured out a niche, which is,
mhm,
government contracting work. I could do what I do for commercial and private sector clients, but do it for the federal government.
mhm,
And we just have done quite a bit of it. And we do it all over the country, Phil, as you
mhm.
know.
As you
With
know,
signing
really.
service with signing services of America. That is correct. Yep.
Yeah, and we really appreciate the partnership and we welcome the opportunity to continue working with you. And that's why I invited you to the show, Quinn, because you do such interesting work. And many people don't realize that, yeah, the government is a buyer of real estate. And, just like a non-government entity needs to purchase real estate and needs legal representation, so does the government. And what better person than you, than the Gilchrist Law Firm? And so, for our listeners who may have some questions about that or may have not known, that's why we have this podcast. That's why we bring Quinn and other guests to the show to inform you about the different type of services that are being offered within the real estate realm that may go unnoticed. And I think your work is if those who aren't directly involved don't know exist. And so like fly over the important work that you're doing and the difference that you're making in the lives of both the government as well as the occupants and possibly the buyers or the sellers of their property to the government. So let's talk about another segment of the work that you do, which really ties in the collaboration that you have with Signing Services of America. And that is oftentimes the government is looking to purchase a parcel of land from a private citizen. And with that is called an easement. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. They purchased the agency that we deal with a lot is the USDA, United States
Mhm.
Department of Agriculture,
Mhm.
Natural Resource Conservation Service, that agency.
Mhm.
They're everywhere. One of the biggest states that does it is in Georgia, where your headquarters is.
Mhm.
And so I've had a contract with them for almost 8 years. They were actually my first customer for the government. So think of like farmers. So farmers that are in Georgia or Nevada or whatever state, the government wants to conserve the land so that it won't be developed. That's how, if you go to the southern part of Georgia, you have all these wonderful swamps and marshlands. It's because the government purchased an easement which prohibited the landowner from developing on any of that so that it stays beautiful. So you have the wonderful wildlife that you have in southern Georgia. They will pay for that. And that's through a program that they have, and they've had it for forever. I mean, it's like a 100-year-old program, but it's USDA and RCS has it. Our firm does those real estate transactions all over the country.
Mhm.
And so that's how, as you know, signing services, our partnership came about, which is, well, I needed signing agents
Mhm.
everywhere.
Mhm.
So anyway, Phil, hopefully that answered the question for the audience.
It does. I'm sure, and they may have more questions. And unfortunately, we don't have a live audience. Maybe one day we will, but for right now, we're gonna, use this recording as a vehicle for informing and educating the community about the important work that you're doing. So, does the government often approach the landowner, or does the landowner often approach the government, or is just a little bit of both?
It's actually a little bit of both. So for USDA and RCS, just about every county, I should say every county, but just about every county in the country has a US or used to have a USDA office.
Hmm.
That USDA office would be the office that deals with a bunch of things. Could be food stamps, could be farming issues, could be whatever, but there is a state representative for USDA in just about every state. In Georgia, they're like every there's a couple in each county, it felt like. And what would happen is that the farmers would hear about this program, or the USDA easement coordinator would reach out to the farmer and say, "Hey, you have some great land. You ever thought about getting in the USDA easement program or the conservation program?" And they talk, and there's a program application form that's done. It's pretty easy. They do it with the easement coordinator, and then after that is really when I start working, which is I get a request then to do title. And then that's when I start doing my math. And the program at times can last from the time of the application to time of closing, sometimes can last like a year. So it's not a quick program, but it's one where some of the best feelings I've had in real estate is you see this little old lady who's had this land in her family, say, for 100 years,
Hmm.
and she doesn't have a lot of money. I mean, she doesn't.
Hmm.
And then I go in and say, or it's the Signing Services of America signing agent says, on behalf of the USDA, I'm pleased to announce we have closed your transaction, and you will get a check from Mr. Gilchrist on behalf of the USDA for X amount of dollars.
Hmm.
And the little old lady starts crying.
Sure.
It
Hmm.
could be $1 million. It could be I've written a lot of checks over there, and this lady is going to use that for her retirement for the rest of her life.
Hmm.
She still owns the land. Now, let's be very clear. An easement is just one, I tell people it's like one bundle of stick.
Hmm.
It's, hey, you're restricted from developing this land. So
Hmm.
it's still going to look pretty. It's still going to still have your name on it. But for this little piece of land, look, this is you can't develop on it.
Hmm.
But she now has a check for a very large number, depending on how much what the acreage is, and she's happy. She's thrilled. The easement typically, though, is in perpetuity. So the easement is forever. That's how, again, you go
Hmm.
back to like the southern Georgia and you just see all the swamps everywhere. And you're like, wow, how's it stay that way? Well, because there's easements in perpetuity.
Hmm.
So anyway, hopefully that helps, Phil.
It does, and that's that. It talks about Quinn. Being of service. Being of selfless service. And I read somewhere on your website that you are a selfless service provider or
Yeah.
citizen, and that's what makes the relationship between the Gilchrist Law Firm and Signing Service America so important, because we're making a difference in people's lives. And where people may have thought there was no hope, we provide the hope. Where people, or better yet, say where people thought they're hopeless, there is some hope. And this is a great program and a great provider, you and your firm, into helping people realize that, yeah, my dreams can come true. right? Whatever those dreams are as it comes to their real estate. So in regard to the multiple programs or departments within the government that you work with, was it a methodical approach to connecting with them and becoming a contractor? Was it, was it a one-shot deal and you just swooped up everyone? Would you share a little bit about how you were able to, what were some of the steps that you took to get so many contracts with so many
Mhm.
different departments within the government?
Great question. First, giving honor to God.
Yes,
So first, start
yes.
there, okay?
Okay.
And then obviously giving honor to my wonderful wife. So
Mhm.
my wife was a contractor first. She worked on what we call a staffing contract. I always tell anyone who wants to know anything about federal contracting is the federal government is the number one purchaser of everything. I
Mhm.
mean, soap to people, staffing
Mhm.
to legal services or title services to real estate. And so my wife was a contractor first doing studies for the Department of Defense. And I learned then that, and she worked for a contractor firm, which is a woman-owned business, and she was doing well, making good money. I was like, wow, this is something to think about.
Mhm.
Uh, After working at all the big law firms and then seeing that it really didn't fit our model nor our family structure, my wife and I, God bless her, she's like, I support you. And I said, well, why don't we just start our own business and
Mhm.
kind of do it ourselves?
Right.
And I'll give you my version of the story, but she can give you hers. But my version is she says, "Oh, you can quit your law office firm, or quit the big firm you're working at."
Uh-huh.
But she said that there's some caveats. I didn't hear that part. I just heard you can quit. So I quit that day, literally that day, and was home at like noon. I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, I quit and I opened up the business in our name." And she's like, "Well,
Wait
I
a
said
minute.
2 weeks and all these other things that need to happen." I said, "Well, I didn't hear that. I heard you said I can quit."
Uh-huh.
And guess what?
Uh-huh.
I'm registering us as a contractor. I
Uh-huh.
have an older cousin
Mm-hmm.
who you know, Spencer,
Yes.
and Spencer is a retired colonel.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I kind of told him about this contracting stuff. Now he had always wanted to be a contractor too, and so what he said is, "Hey, I can help you guys do this stuff." And he pointed me in the right directions of, learn this and that. And I happen to be a halfway smart person, so I read everything you can think of about federal contracting in a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a pretty fast reader. So I like learn this stuff in a weekend. I'm
Right.
like, I'm gonna learn this stuff.
Okay.
And that Monday, I think I quit on a Friday. That Monday, the company was formed. We
Uh-huh.
were in the government system as
Uh-huh.
contractors and this and that.
Uh-huh.
And our first contract,
But wait a
we,
minute, Quinn.
yeah,
I mean, in all fairness to your wife, right? You
oh
you
yeah,
had to really move quick
yeah,
because you had
I
made a
quit.
decision
Yeah.
that was not quite she was prepared for. So you knew that if I don't hurry up with this thing, she may
Y-
reverse and I have to go
Yes,
back to work for
sir. Two
somebody
bags
else.
full. And not only that, when I have a son at the time, my
Uh-huh.
youngest son was only 3 weeks old.
Right.
So it was terrible. Like I wanted to quit. The baby's 3 weeks old, and she
Wow.
says you can quit, but she had all these other caveats. I didn't hear it. So now we have a newborn, and
Uh-huh.
I'm like, we don't have a job, but
Right.
I have this idea.
Uh-huh.
All praise to God, by the way.
Yeah.
So I then registered the company. I learned a lot about this, and my first they call RFP, request for a proposal, was a contract in Georgia, USDA NRCS. It was a
Mm-hmm.
title contract, and Georgia was due, let's say, like 3 weeks later. Because after opening the company and this and that, I took my wife on a vacation for 2 weeks just to,
Okay. Pull her out,
iron
right?
out some of this, right? But
Smart guy, right?
I tried. An
You know how they
RFQ
say,
was,
Quinn, happy wife, happy life, right?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So an RFQ or RFP was due, came out maybe 2 weeks later,
Right.
and I read it. I'm like, hey,
Uh-huh.
we can do this.
Uh-huh.
And then maybe a week later, another one was out. It was in Alabama. Same work, different state. So
Right.
Georgia and Alabama came out the same day. Same contracting officer too. And so I call Spencer and I'm like, Spence, I want to do this. Can you point me in the right direction? He tells me who to call to help me put together a proposal. These are called proposal writers. There's a whole industry on that too, by the way. And so I call him, I pay him, and I'm like, hey, how much does it cost? He tells me, I'm like, I'll figure it out. And we put together our first two proposals, and let's say maybe a month later, Phil, I'm this is in 2017, so how many years ago that was. So 2017, I remember the date. It was
Eight
January
years.
20th. 2017. I remember
Uh-huh.
the exact date.
Uh-huh.
When the federal government calls you, at least back then, it said U.S. government on your phone. So U.S. government. So I get a call and it says U.S. government. Is this Mr. Gilchrist? It's a woman talking to me. Yeah, yes, ma'am. This is Mr. Gilchrist. Ma'am, how can I help you? Today is a beautiful day. And I said, okay, yes, yes, ma'am, it is a beautiful day. She says, are you sitting down? I said, yes, ma'am. And she goes, on behalf of the United States of America, I am pleased to announce you won two government contracts today.
Wow.
And I said, oh, okay, well, how long are the contracts? 5 years. And I said,
Wow.
wow. And I asked, well, how much they were. I'm not disclosing, but she told me, and I said, holy moly. And I said, well, is there a check or what do I do for any of this? She said, well, check your email.
Uh,
Your contracts are right there. She says, are you
wow.
married, Mr. Gilchrist? I said, happily married. If I was you, I would take my wife out. I will do that. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am, I will
ma'am.
do that. I'll do that. So I told my wife, I
Uh-huh.
said, hey, honey, we won two contracts today.
Uh-huh.
And since then, Phil, it's just, once you do well on one, just you get another one. You just, that's called building past performance. And we started it. I learned so much on those first two contracts about how government contracting work, what shouldn't work. The contracting officer, I still remember her name. She was fantastic. She helped me out. She taught me what to do, what not to do, what to ask. It was like boot camp pretty much.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
But
mhm,
since then, I just grew
mhm,
to then, if you look at my name online, you'll see, well, man, I'm in like every state except three,
mhm.
and it's just been a blessing. So that's how it started, Phil. There you go.
That's a great story. Quinn, I'm laughing with you, not at you, because we have to be willing to take those risks, right?
Mm,
Those calculated risks as an entrepreneur to fulfill our dreams. And the longer we withhold pursuing our dreams and not willing to take those risks, then the more miserable at least I felt, right? And then when I made the move, it's like, okay, boom, let's go. And so your story is very similar to mine. And we started along the same times. I started in 2016, you started in 2017. But you just went all in. And I think that that's really what message I'm getting, and I hope the audience, another message the audience is getting, is that if you're on the fence about considering, being an entrepreneur, then, jump in, right? And jump into the pool. If you know how to swim, swim. And if you don't know how to swim, then you're going to learn to swim and, learn to float and take it steps at a time. And, you too could be like Quinn, or you too could be like me with Signing Services America, and hopefully with Closing Market Weekly. So thank you for sharing that story. I'm laughing, like I said, I'm laughing with you, not at you, because it's a funny story, one, and two, you had to do, you had to keep peace, right? It's like, wait a
yeah.
minute. I said, wait a minute, you could quit, but here's the caveat. You was like saying, all I heard was this, yes, that's all.
Yes. Yes, we can. And I was gone.
She said,
Yes, we can.
yes, we can. She said, yes, and that's it. It's like proposing to your fiance, and she says yes, everything else doesn't matter. She said
That is
yes,
correct.
and we're off to the races. That's a great story. So listen, so what's next? I mean, are there any more departments within the government that you have your eyes on?
Oh yeah.
Are there any kind of like big projects that you're working on with the government or would like to work with the government? Just tell us a little bit about those as we move toward bringing our show to a close.
Well, sure. And so one of the things that in business, and again, I applaud you for your success in this thing, Phil, and even mentioning your new venture with Closing Market Weekly. I mean,
Thank you.
this is significant. The one thing I would say, and I think every good entrepreneur would tell anyone, is you follow the market on this stuff,
Hmm.
like you do. What I did since 2017, at least in the federal system, because our company was founded in 2015, but we did some private sector stuff the first 2 years, and then we moved really a lot into the federal system. But since this year, because there's been a lot of shifting in the federal government, we've had to pivot too. And what I
Mm-hmm.
would tell folks is follow the market. So what we've done in real estate is what we learned in the federal system. Guess what? All the states do them too. So when people Google my name and they say, "Man, Gilchrist is like everywhere," well, yeah, yes, but also we learned that as there are 13 federal departments, but there are hundreds of agencies all over the country, federal agencies. Guess what? There are even quadruple that amount of
The state
states.
level
Yeah, I
per
mean, state and
state.
local ones. Yeah, state and local ones. I mean, so this year at least, with the changes in the federal government and then focusing on the stuff that we're really good at, which is real estate law, is we started doing local procurements. So, my first client was the USDA NRCS in Georgia. Guess what? Georgia also has. It has the Georgia Department of Agriculture too. You
Mm,
know, they do. So you can kind of map what you did in the federal system to local system.
mhm,
And even today, where I was somewhat late for this thing because there is a Florida Department of Agriculture real estate program management contract. So all the stuff I do that's another thing, but program management is kind of like managing a whole contract. They have a contract in Florida to do the exact same thing I've been doing for years,
mhm,
but they actually pay you, which is crazy.
mm, mm,
So we're bidding on that. It's due Monday. But I would just say that's really what we're looking at is trying to follow the market. If the federal system is changing a lot, because it is, then follow the market. Well, what can you do and pivot? So we pivoted to the local side of the fence. Mortgage rates are halfway decent now, actually. So one of the other things I forgot to mention is when I was doing federal procurement work, I learned that the government also was a lender. I think sometimes we forget that the government can also be a lender.
mhm,
So USDA Rural Development Agency is a lender. It's actually one of
mhm,
my other customers.
mhm,
And so I started doing closing work for them
mm,
as the lender. Like
mhm.
it's not like it's Wells Fargo. No, no,
Right,
they're the actual lender.
right.
So I started doing work for them and started calling you about that too. Hey, Phil, can you send me someone over here to do a signing? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the mantra. So sorry about that, Phil, but over
No,
to you.
that's fine. That's fine because what I was going to ask here is that has the federal government served as a reference for you to for you to approach these state entities, or do you just come in with your knowledge and submit your proposal and they review and make a decision? How does I mean, is there any correlation between the government and the state agencies in regard to supporting you to become a state contractor?
Great question. First off, the feds in the states are like they're completely different. So that's
Hmm.
something else I wish someone had taught me in this,
Mm,
is that federal procurement is actually easier than local procurement
mm,
because there's one rule that the whole country kind of follows.
hmm,
Those rules change. I mean, there's been a lot of changes lately, but if you know the steps, you'll be fine.
hmm,
The local system is different. Even
mm,
how you find the contracts are different.
mm,
That's called capture management. So contractors like us, you spend a lot of money in the federal system figuring out, well, where are the contracts, and then organizing them, planning which ones you're going to do, da da da. In the local system, like in
hmm,
the state of Georgia where you are,
hmm,
there are hundreds of agencies there. None of
hmm,
them talk to each other,
hmm,
and their procurements are in different places. So you got to know
hmm,
where to go to find them.
hmm,
Because every agency is like its own little country,
hmm.
pretty much.
Got you.
So we've had to navigate that puzzle piece. But once you're in, so
Yes.
once you're in,
Yes.
and once you know what you're looking for,
Yes.
then I hate to sound like sky's the limit, but
It
sky's the
is.
limit,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what's happened to us, Phil.
Fantastic. I'm looking at your website and you're a very modest person, Quin, because your website says that you in 2019 Best Prime Contractor of the Year,
Mhm.
and then in 2020 Best Veteran-Owned Business of the Year. Well,
Mhm.
congratulations. And
Thank you.
you want to tell our audience about those two awards?
I wasn't going to until now, but yes, Phil. So the United States Small Business Administration, so all of us that are in small business, the SBA is who governs us in some part. And the SBA every year picks a regional and a national prime contractor, which means
Mhm,
you're the boss of the
mhm,
contract.
mhm,
And in 2019, I mean, we were just killing it. I mean, I told you we got our first contract in 2017, but we got two of them the same day.
mhm,
And it's just one thing, do. But by 2019, I mean, we are just killing it at this point.
mhm,
And so there are four regions in the country. The Southeast, which is where Florida is, and Georgia and Tennessee, North Carolina, all of them, was the region I was in. So we get a call from our senator at the time, who is now the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. And his office calls and says, "Hey, is this Mr. Gilchrist?" I'm like, "Yep, this is Gilchrist. I'm pleased to announce that you won the SBA Region 4 contract." And I'm like,
Wow.
award of the year. And I'm like, "Get out of here." "Yeah, I've got to send some people to you, and you're going to take a picture with this person, that person, and da da da." And he writes a letter to us. And then our congresswoman at the time was the former Secretary of Education for the United States, is Donna Shalala. So Congresswoman Shalala writes me a letter. She's like, "You will put this on all your contracts," which I did. And
Quick, fast, and hurry, right?
yeah, pretty much. Because you're my constituent, you're in my district, right? So
Yeah.
she's a Democrat and Senator Rubio is a Republican. So I'm like, okay, and we win that.
Hmm.
Subsequently, interestingly enough, it's not on the bio because I don't like talking about it at times, but if you really look for it, you'll find it. Is in 2020, then, uh, excuse me, 2021,
Hmm.
and 2020 became the best veteran-owned business of the year, which was great too. The next year, we get invited to the White House. I didn't even want to go, Phil. Like I just, I don't like politics. This you're over there, I'm over here. It doesn't matter. I'm a soldier. Doesn't
Mm.
matter who's in office. I just move out. And so we get invited to the White House, and I'm in like the East Room of the White House and this and that. I remember taking a picture of like the bathroom because I was like, "This is the nicest bathroom I've ever seen."
Uh-huh.
And you get a sense of, man, what a blessing this is, from an
Yes.
idea of me and my wife
Right.
after having our second child, our baby, and us believing in God first, right? And believing in
Right.
God, and to
Right.
say, "Man, I'm in the White House. Like, how did this happen?"
That's right.
So anyway, so there you go, Phil.
Well, those are two great stories, and in addition to all the information you shared with us, Quinn, in regard to your humble beginnings to where you have grown to now. I'm proud of you, honored to know you, and I'm sure your family is very, very proud of you as well. And we just want to say thank you for coming on to the show and sharing some great information. So before we let you go, if someone would like to contact you, Quinn, what is the best method of contact you would prefer?
Yeah, so I'm somewhat old school. I would recommend just call the office. You know, uh, it's
And
kind
that
of the
number
best way.
is?
Yep, 786
Mhm.
408 6815. Again, 786 408 6815. Best way
Fantastic.
to get in touch with me. You can hit a button and it goes to my assistant and then they send it over to me. But again, Phil, thank you again for this opportunity, and peace and blessings to you. I mean, this is a considerable moment too. So thank you.
Oh, yes, you're more than welcome. And thank you for coming on and sharing with us such wonderful information. Isn't it good sometimes to walk down memory lane? You know?
Yeah, yeah, because sometimes you kind of, how did that actually happen? And it's not until someone asks you and you're like, well, that's
Right,
actually how it happened.
right.
But yeah, yeah, thank you for that, Phil. I appreciate it. I will definitely take my wife to lunch and dinner and a movie, as I'm going to remind her about the story shortly.
Great. What a great way to end the show. And Quinn, thanks you once again. And folks, that's a wrap for today's episode with Quin Gilchrist, who is the president of Gilchrist Law Firm. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, you can like, share, and follow us on YouTube and also on our Instagram page. And bye for now. See you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Closing Market Weekly. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone in the industry. For more insights from the front lines of real estate closings, we'll see you next week.